This is Chicago and State. Doors closing.
I went on the Pilsen neighborhood tour, and Pilsen is a place where I spent a few weeks as an undergraduate student on a Spanish language immersion program. So it held some interest for me to revisit the neighborhood, and coming from a different perspective than I did. I think it was in 2001 or 2002.
Cartas que yo te escribo, con tanto esmero mi alma se siente triste, porque te espero. Cartas que yo te escribo, con tanto esmero mi alma se siente triste, porque...
We had met the artist, Hector Duarte, in his house, luckily, and we felt very privileged because Lisa knocked on the door and nobody answered, and she said, "Oh, he's almost never home," and then he opened the door, so it was kind of a gift to us, I think.
I was very taken with Hector Duarte's demeanor and the fact that he is incredibly gentle soul, it appears from us meeting him, and very gracious, welcoming 8 or 10 strangers into his studio, and he spent probably 45 minutes with us talking about his artwork, perfectly willing to have us take photographs of it and photograph him in front of it, and he was showing us the tricks on how he made these stamped pieces and all that kind of stuff. So I found him to be this really beautiful, kind of gracious soul whose artwork represents real social justice issues within his Mexican-American communities.
And then we went to a gallery where one of Hector's paintings was on display, and he had painted a painting that he had painted this very thick, I think it was canvas paper, on two sides. And so the front side was a very gray metallic image of a wall representing, the sort of obstacles that I think primarily Mexican immigrants face as they cross the border. And on the other side, he painted these monarch butterflies, which are a representation for him of Guadalajara, which is where he's from, and the migration, the sort of free migration back and forth, that contrasts with the difficulties of human migration. And he'd set it up as a fundraiser for a project that was going to bring pre-Columbian art from Israel to the United States. And he'd scored this wall painting in various sort of abstract shapes. And for $50, you could rip off a piece of the painting and take it home. And as you ripped it off, what you saw underneath, we didn't see everything underneath, but there was sky, and there were butterflies, and there was some sort of constellation of butterfly-like something in the middle. So as people donated to bring this other art to Chicago, we were revealing something at the same time that we were tearing down this wall.
This is Ann Pryor, and I went on the Bronzeville tour on Thursday, and it was an opportunity to spend a lot of deep time with this community scholar, Sherry Williams.
So I loved the tour with Sherry. She was such an inspiration as a one woman undertaking such a huge task, and And so I really valued the time that I got to spend with her on the Bronzeville tour.
That is what I'm going to be taking away from the tour, less about the places that we saw. We saw the tomb, it's interesting, but it's the community work that's going on at that tomb, at this site, which is this focal point. That's what I'm going to be taking away.
We were taking a walk through familiar territory to me because where I grew up was only a few blocks farther to the south of there, and but I hadn't been cognizant because the era when I was living, they hadn't put up historical markers that said, yeah, Ida B. Wells lived here. To me it was just another house that you passed by. And the most amazing thing in terms of these historical markers was that on my very own street, Lake Park Avenue, I found out, I lived in the 4900 block, that on the 4300 block was Muddy Waters' house. And I went, oh, okay, so 6 blocks up. Now, I have to admit that in that era, we were interested in folk music and blues, but our idol in that was Big Bill Brunsey. He was the guy. Muddy Waters.
First record I ever bought in college was Big Bill Brunsey.
There you go, Big Bill Brunsey. So Muddy Waters at that time was like, he's some electric guitar guy. It's not real folk. Of course, what we didn't know was that Big Bill Brunsey, though he played acoustic guitar when he's playing for white folk music audiences, he was playing an electric guitar too. I found out later when he was playing for all black audiences who, people up from Mississippi who when they're in Chicago, they didn't want to hear that old stuff. They wanted something,
It was really exciting for me to go on the Labor Lore tour despite the terrible traffic. I corresponded for a while with Rich Rowe of Local 63, and so it was thrilling to meet him. And of course, Bucky and I have been doing the Ironworkers thing, and I've seen images of Local 63, so it was great to be there. And then I've also been interested in Haymarket and inspired by those folks who went through that whole 8-hour day movement, and it was really moving to be at that site.
I was riding with Rich, and he was he's a retired business agent for the local. Been doing it for like 30-something years. We were talking about the bean. Actually, they did all the work. The Local 63 did the work on the bean, and we was talking. One thing I remember talking about, like, it was like 130, 160 plates of stainless steel, and they were put together with like this internal frame of wires and stuff that. But when they were done, there was these gaps of about 1/8 of an inch between each thing, and they welded them all, and then they polished them, and so they're invisible. You can't see the welds at all. Which, and then I went and looked at the thing because I was kind of curious. And he also told me where the work hatch was to get in there, so you can find out, do the work on the inside. So that was kind of an interesting thing to learn about the bean. I was kind of curious how they made it.
In the town where I live right now, we're sort of in the midst of a major conflict between old and new, and ugly and aesthetically pleasing architecture. And so here we're in a city, and I'm sort of looking at how you can juxtapose those things.
And I felt like we had a really energetic start yesterday morning with, and it was fun to think about our little family vacation and to go forward. I have some worry. I would have liked to have, maybe gotten a little more unified and continued on and talked through the virtues and problems with various things, so that a better sense of how we are able to collaborate.
What really struck me was that the region is very varied. And that seems to be the strength of any type of programming. I guess too, that Wordle thing that was up there, when you look at that, it's all stuff like networking, collaborating, blah, blah, blah. But about what? There isn't an about what. So we're not going to network or collaborate unless we're doing something together. That's what is. So there needs to be we're doing something together for any of that other stuff happening.
Chicago, oh Chicago, round the lake, round where my girls go, where the breeze comes here to blowing, oh Chicago. All the roaming round I've done, walking around in all your towns, prettiest wind that blew me down was in old Chicago.
Where the roosters go to crow, where the sweet hens come to learn some, where the chicks fly the coop in old Chicago.
Oh Chicago, oh Chicago, round the lake, round where my girls go, where the breeze comes here to blow in old Chicago. Where the stock train blows at midnight, where my milk train blows the daylight, where my folks can't sleep at all in old Chicago.